Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely, because what I'm about to say might just set you free. You spend so much time trying to be liked that you've forgotten what it feels like to just be you. The more you care about what others think, the more you suffer in silence. You start living a life based not on what brings you peace, but on what others expect. Every decision becomes filtered through the question, will they approve? You silence your opinions, suppress your desires, and dim your light. Not because it's what you want, but because you're afraid of standing out, afraid of being judged. You trade authenticity for acceptance. You become so focused on being liked that you slowly forget how to be yourself. And in the process, you lose your joy, your confidence, and your sense of direction. You begin shaping your identity around their opinions. You dress a certain way, talk a certain way, and walk through life trying to fit into an image that's not even yours. And yet, even after all the effort, someone still has something negative to say. Because the truth is, no matter how much you try to fit in, someone will always find a reason to criticize. The more you try to win everyone over, the more you exhaust yourself. People's standards keep shifting, their preferences keep changing, and the more you chase their approval, the more you lose sight of your own worth. Caring deeply is not the problem. Caring too much about people who don't care back is what destroys you. You give and give, hoping they'll notice your loyalty, your kindness, your efforts. But they don't. Or worse, they see it and take advantage of it. The more you show up for everyone, the less they appreciate it. The more available you are, the more invisible you feel. It hurts when the people you prioritized treat you like an afterthought. And yet, instead of pulling back, you push harder, trying to earn love that should have been freely given. This cycle will continue until you break it, until you realize that your worth is not defined by applause or attention. You don't need validation to be valuable. You don't need approval to live your truth. Peace comes when you no longer allow their opinions to control you. When you stop justifying your choices. When you stop shrinking to fit their comfort zone. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to live your life, especially those who haven't lived a single day in your shoes. The moment you stop caring so much about being liked, you make room for freedom. A freedom that brings peace, joy, and confidence. A freedom that allows you to speak your mind, chase your dreams, and stand in your power. Not everyone will understand you, and not everyone is meant to. But the ones who truly matter will love you for who you are, not for the version of yourself you put on to please them. The more you let go of that need to be liked, the more room you create for the life you truly want. Because at the end of the day, the less you care, the happier you become. Too many people are carrying the weight of opinions that do absolutely nothing for them. You lose sleep replaying conversations, worrying about how you were perceived, stressing over someone's comment or side glance. But for what? Those people aren't paying your bills. They're not the ones staying up at night with you, figuring out how to make ends meet. They're not walking in your shoes or dealing with your responsibility. And yet, their opinions have power over your peace. Why? Why do you give that much weight to people who add no value to your life? You were raised to be kind, to be thoughtful, to care about others, and that's beautiful. But somewhere along the way you started believing that your kindness meant you had to tolerate anything, that you had to listen to everyone, that you had to seek approval just to be at peace. But here's the truth. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Being understanding doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being. You can be good-hearted and still protect your space. You can be compassionate and still choose your own mental health over someone's judgment. The people you're trying to impress, the ones whose opinions keep you up at night, most of them wouldn't even notice if you disappeared. You're sacrificing your joy, your energy, your sense of self for people who won't even clap for you when you win. People who have never invested in your journey, but feel entitled to comment on your path, Why are you giving them a front row seat to your life? Why are you letting their opinions shape your decisions? You have to understand that living for the approval of others is a never-ending cycle. You could be doing everything right, and someone will still have something to say. You could take the safest path, follow all the rules, and they'll still find a reason to criticize. So what's the point? Why not live the way that brings you peace? Why not make choices based on what feels right to you? Their approval won't pay your rent. Their opinions won't feed your family. Their validation won't bring you joy when you're lying awake at night wondering where your life is going. You owe no one your peace. You owe no one your sanity. You are not here to constantly explain yourself, defend your choices, or seek permission to live a life that feels authentic to you. The people who truly love and support you, they won't need explanations. They won't guilt you or try to control you with their opinions. They'll cheer you on, even if they don't understand every step you take. That's real support. That's real love. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them whisper behind your back. Their opinions don't pay your bills. Their words don't define your future. The only person who needs to believe in your journey is you. Stop giving power to people who haven't earned it. Take your peace back and build a life that honors your truth, not their expectations. When you start molding yourself just to be accepted, you're no longer living, you're performing. You're acting out a version of yourself designed to please others, not to honor who you really are. Every move becomes calculated, every word is filtered. You second-guess your instincts because you're more focused on how you'll be perceived than on what feels true to you. And over time, this performance becomes your reality. You forget what your own voice sounds like, you forget what genuinely makes you happy. You lose touch with your dreams, your opinions, your confidence. And eventually your identity fades into the background. You hesitate to speak up, even when you have something important to say. You shrink your ideas, your passions, your presence, all to avoid making others uncomfortable. You don't chase the things that set your soul on fire because you're too worried about being judged. You stay quiet when you should be loud. You blend in when you were born to stand out. And it's all because you fear what they might think. But who are they really? Most of the time, they are people who aren't invested in your happiness, your purpose, or your growth. They are people who would judge you no matter what you do. And that's the harsh truth. Some people will dislike you no matter what. You could be kind, humble, and generous, and they'll call you fake. You could be confident and focused, and they'll call you arrogant. You could follow the rules, and they will say you're boring. You could break the mold, and they will say you're reckless. There is no version of yourself that will satisfy everyone, so why keep sacrificing yourself in the name of approval? Why keep editing your personality to fit into spaces that were never meant for you? Living for acceptance is exhausting. You become so wrapped up in keeping up appearances that you don't even realize how far you've drifted from your true self. You smile when you're hurting. You agree when you want to disagree. You follow the crowd when your heart is screaming to take another path, but you don't move. You don't speak. You don't live fully, because deep down you've convinced yourself that being accepted is more important than being authentic. But it's not. Real happiness doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being free. Free to be you. Free to speak your mind, pursue your goals, and walk in your truth, regardless of who approves. You weren't born to fit someone else's mold. You weren't meant to live your life under a spotlight of judgment. You were meant to live boldly, even if it means standing alone. You were meant to grow, evolve, and become the truest version of yourself, not the version the world tells you to be. To stop performing, stop editing, stop pretending, start living fully, freely, and unapologetically, because the world doesn't need another imitation. It needs the real you. You give your time, your energy, your heart. You're the one who checks in, who listens, who shows up, always. When someone needs advice, you're there. When they're struggling, you're the one who carries the weight they can't bear. You pour your love and loyalty into others without hesitation. But when it's your turn to need someone, when your world feels heavy and your heart is tired, what do you get in return? Silence, distance, excuses. And suddenly the people you gave so much to are nowhere to be found. It's a quiet kind of heartbreak to realize you were never a priority to the people you made your whole world. You keep telling yourself that maybe they're busy, maybe they just didn't notice, maybe they're going through something. And sure, life gets complicated, but let's be honest, people make time for what matters to them. And if you constantly find yourself on the giving end of relationships that offer little to nothing back, it's time to stop making excuses for that imbalance. People who truly value you won't just show up when it's easy or convenient. They'll be there when it matters. They won't let you carry everything alone. But too many of us get stuck in the pattern of overgiving. We keep pouring from our cup, hoping one day they'll appreciate it, hoping one day they'll give back what we've given. But the truth is, some people won't. Not because you don't deserve it, but because they simply aren't capable. Some people only know how to take. They feed off your kindness, your consistency, your care, but when it's time for them to give, they vanish. They're there when they need something, but silent when you do. And that's not love. That's convenience. You can't keep pouring into empty cups and expecting to feel full. You can't keep giving your best to people who don't give a second thought about how you're doing. Your heart is valuable. Your energy is precious. And if someone is constantly draining you, constantly taking and never giving, it's not your job to keep filling them up. It's your job to protect your peace. You deserve relationships that feel mutual, not one-sided. You deserve to be supported the same way you support others. And if someone can't meet you at that level, if they can't match your love, your effort, your presence, then maybe they don't deserve access to you at all. It's not bitterness, it's not revenge, it's self-respect. Start giving that love back to yourself. Start being there for you the way you've been there for everyone else. Reclaim your energy. Set boundaries that honor your worth. Because at the end of the day, you can't heal by constantly breaking yourself for others. You can't be everything for everyone and nothing for yourself. Protect your heart. Value your time. And remember, you're not wrong for expecting the same love you so freely give. Boundaries are not walls. They're protection. They're not about pushing people away, they're about keeping yourself safe from what drains, hurts, or diminishes you. Yet so many people have been conditioned to believe that setting boundaries is rude, cold, or selfish, especially when you've always been the one who gives, who says yes, who makes room for everyone else. The moment you say no, people act like you've done something wrong. But choosing your peace over toxic people isn't selfish, it's survival, it's self-respect. It's knowing that your emotional and mental health matter just as much as anyone else's. You are not required to tolerate mistreatment just to be seen as kind. You're not obligated to keep people in your life who consistently make you feel small, unheard, or unloved. The people who genuinely care for you will never make you beg for respect. They won't punish you for having needs. They won't guilt you for standing up for yourself. In fact, they'll support your boundaries because they understand that real love honors limits. Real love doesn't demand you exhaust yourself to prove your worth. There's a big difference between being supportive and being used. And far too often, you don't realize you've crossed that line until you're emotionally burned out. You've given too many chances, tolerated too many red flags, and swallowed too many uncomfortable feelings just to keep the peace. But if keeping the peace with them means losing peace within yourself, that's not peace. That's submission. That's emotional self-abandonment. And you deserve better than that. Boundaries are the way you teach people how to treat you. And if someone gets angry or distant when you start setting limits, that's a sign they benefited from your lack of them. Some people only love you as long as you make their life easier. The moment you stop bending over backwards, they label you as difficult or changed. But that change is necessary. Growth requires change. Healing requires distance from what hurts you, and strength means protecting your space, even if it means disappointing a few people. A healthy relationship doesn't feel like a battlefield. It doesn't drain you, confuse you, or make you question your worth. It uplifts you, supports you, and respects the boundaries you put in place to preserve your well-being. And if someone makes you feel like you're too much for having standards, it's simply because they were never enough to meet them. Let them go. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You're not here to constantly explain why you need time, space, or silence. You are here to grow, to evolve, and to protect your peace in a world that often demands more than you can give. Boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. They are how you show up for yourself. And when you learn to set them unapologetically, you finally stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. That's not selfish, that's strength. You waste so much of your energy trying to impress people who don't even live your life. You go out of your way to be accepted, to be liked, to fit into boxes you were never meant to fit in. You walk on eggshells, edit your personality, suppress your dreams, all to keep people comfortable who wouldn't even notice if you stop showing up. And the truth is, it's exhausting, because no matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. You could live the safest, quietest, most agreeable life, and still, someone will find a way to judge it. That's just how people are. So why keep bending for a world that won't even clap when you rise? The day you stop needing permission to be yourself is the day you reclaim your joy. The moment you stop asking what will they think and start asking what do I want, that's when the freedom begins. Because real freedom doesn't come from being accepted by others. It comes from accepting yourself. It comes from living in alignment with your values, your truth, your passions, even if no one else understands them. You were not born to blend in. You were born to shine in your own way, even if it blinds those who can't handle your light. People's opinions are not your truth. Their judgments are shaped by their own fears, limitations, and insecurities. When someone says, "You can't," what they really mean is, "I can't." When someone calls you too bold, too ambitious, too emotional, what they're really saying is, "I don't know how to handle someone who's not afraid to be real." So let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them gossip. None of it defines you. You are not responsible for fixing their perception of you. You are not here to win the approval of every person you meet. You are not meant to water yourself down to make others comfortable. When you stop caring what people think, you free yourself from a prison that most never escape. You stop performing and start living. You start speaking your truth without fear, chasing your dreams without hesitation, and loving yourself without condition. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop needing approval, you start attracting people who love you as you are. People who don't need explanations. People who support you, not because you please them, but because your presence is enough. You stop chasing connection and start experiencing it naturally. Because you're no longer trying to be what others want, you're just being you. And that's more than enough. Don't waste another minute shrinking yourself for people who were never meant to see you clearly. Don't give your energy to voices that don't matter. Live loud, love fully, stand tall in your truth. The less you care about being liked, the more you love the life you're creating. And that, right there, is where freedom lives. You have one life, yours. And the greatest tragedy is not that people will misunderstand you, judge you, or walk away. The greatest tragedy is living a life that never truly felt like yours, all because you were too afraid to be disliked, too afraid to set boundaries, too afraid to disappoint others while constantly disappointing yourself. But you are not here to be everyone's favorite. You're not here to water yourself down just to fit in. You are here to be real, to be bold, to be free. You are here to choose peace over approval, truth over performance, and self-respect over toxic loyalty. So stop overextending for people who only notice your absence. Stop pouring into cups that never fill yours. And stop waiting for permission to be who you were always meant to be. Because the moment you stop caring about the wrong things, you make space for the right things. Peace, purpose, joy, and authenticity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your heart, choosing your dreams, or prioritizing your well-being. The less you care about their opinions, the freer you become. The more you love yourself, the more powerful you feel. And when you finally reclaim your worth, your voice, your life, you become unstoppable. So walk away from anything that makes you shrink. Let go of what no longer serves you. And remember, you were never meant to be controlled by the opinions of others. You were meant to be free,